Used or repossessed car, Automart na yan.
Kadalasan pag naghahanap ng pampamilyang SUV or crossover, gusto niyo yung malalaki na truck-based, na usually diesel-powered and all that. Pero most of the time, nalalapad, mahahaba, and sabihin na natin, medyo mas matagtag compared to sedans. So ang compromise dyan would be to get a crossover, and one of the best-selling crossovers in the country is the Honda CR-V. Ang kasama natin ngayon ay itong top-of-the-line model, the 1.6 SX all-wheel drive diesel. So, tignan natin just how good is it as a family car. Ito ang 5th generation Honda CR-V. Dumating siya sa Pilipinas noong banda late 2017 as a 2018 model. Now, ever since it was launched, the CR-V continued that strong sales position in the market, and it remains to be the top-selling C-segment crossover in the country. Now, of course, dahil crossover siya and it's smaller than your typical Fortuners, Terras, Mu XS, you don't see these as often as the bigger SUVs, but you are missing out on a few things. And yun nga, i-explain ko kung bakit siya okay na family car. But first, let's start with the styling. So, the CR-V was facelifted around late 2020, and iba na yung korte ng bumper niya, iba na rin yung shape ng grille niya, and a few headlight elements were changed as well. Yung wheels mo, dati yung 3-spoke split design, now it has like that flower spoke, 5-spoke design. And sa likod naman, medyo dinarken nila yung tail lights. So paano i-differentiate ang all-wheel drive na diesel to the 2-wheel drive model? So simple lang yan, all you have to do is look at the roof. Itong all-wheel drive na diesel model comes with a panoramic sunroof, whereas the rest of the lineup does not have a panoramic sunroof. All in all, it's been a familiar shape. It's been around for quite some time already, but at the same time, it still looks pretty good. Now, as for the rest of the body lines, you might think medyo mababa siya tignan, and it is compared sa mga malalaking SUVs, but you still get over 200 millimeters of ground clearance. And to put that into perspective, that's about 8 inches. So kung may baha kayong madadaanan na that's less than a foot high, kayang-kaya pa rin ng CR-V yan. Don't let the size fool you. So dito tayo sa likod, and you see what I mean with the darker rear tail lights. Sa pre-facelift model, mas litaw yung pagkapula niya, no? Pero other than that, it looks similar to the model sold before the facelift that came out a few years ago. So if there's something about the rear of the CR-V, it sticks to tradition. Kasi ako, nagka-first generation ako na CR-V. Family namin, nagka-third gen CR-V din. And just about everyone I know has owned a CR-V. And lahat sila may vertical na tail light. And they still kept that tradition today. Although, ang difference lang, in-extend nila hanggang dito sa tailgate. And speaking of the tailgate, it's pretty flat, it's pretty wide, and it gives you a low opening para madali magsakay ng gamit. So habang nandito din tayo, let's check out the cargo area. So itong SX model, meron kang power tailgate. And nakamagulat kayo, bakit ganito yung itsura ng cargo area? That's because all diesel CR-V sold in the Philippines are 7-seaters. They all have 3-row seating. So to stow that, all you have to do is pull a lever here. Although, naka-recline lang to ngayon, kaya medyo hindi siya mahahatak. But, it's a very simple setup. All you have to do is pull, and to stow it back down, it's the same process. You can also detach these seats to get access to the spare tire dito sa ilalim ng floor. And at the same time, you can use this as a shelf or additional cargo area. Although, ang effect lang niyan is hindi totally flat yung cargo area. Now, if you prefer to have a larger cargo area but still prefer the CR-V, you'll have to go for the gas model. Yung gas model kasi is a 5-seater only. So, you lose the third row seats but you also gain more cargo space. So itong diesel CR-V na to, it has a 1.6-liter unit with 120 horsepower and 300 Newton meters of torque. I know they're not exactly class-leading figures, but still, diesel pa rin siya, and you expect na matipid siya. Sabihin ko sa inyo yung impressions nung economy run mamaya, but I can guarantee you, matipid talaga itong makinang to. Also, this engine has a different tune outside of the Philippines and other parts of the world kasi itong exact same engine na to is also available with 160 horsepower and 350 Newton, but for some reason hindi natin nakuha yung modelong yon. But nonetheless, it's a very efficient engine and I'll tell you the fuel economy figures later. As for the transmission, it is a 9-speed unit para talaga masulit mo yung pagkatipid nito. But again, just because mas maraming gears yung kotse, it doesn't mean mas mabilis siya. It just means na mas matipid siya. So natour na natin yung labas ng CR-V. What about the interior? So inside, it's still from the previous generation of Honda. So the design, well, it's either you'll find it old or, well, it's still pretty good for the times. Para sa akin, the design still looks pretty relevant even today, no? And there's a lot of soft touch materials sa ibabaw ng dashboard, sa gitna ng dashboard, and even on top of the doors, you have a lot of soft touch materials here. So all in all, it exudes a very premium feeling cabin. Sa harap ko, you get a full digital instrument cluster na pwede mong palit-palitan yung display, pwede mong gawing fuel economy display, speed display, average speed, etc. etc. At pwede ka rin magpalit ng ibang settings through this screen. Now this being the top of the line model, meron siyang what's called Honda Sensing. So Honda Sensing is the active safety suite found in top of the line Hondas. So you get adaptive cruise control, you have lane keep assist, you have automatic emergency braking, just to name a few. So very convenient yan if you're planning to take one of these on a long road trip. Few things na, well, you'll either like or not dito sa CR-V diesel. So instead of a traditional na gear lever, push button yung gear selector mo. And that's only for the diesel CR-V. So yung mga gas na CR-V, traditional na gear selector. Sa simula, medyo may ilang ka. Ako, aminin ko nung una kong na-try ito, naghahanap ako ng gear selector, pero eventually nasanay din naman ako. Although, when I move back to a normal car, hahanapin ko naman yung botones nito. But, either way, this is something you might have to get used to down the line. Now, for the steering wheel, yes, it's leather wrapped, but there are times it feels slippery, but other than that, it's generally okay naman. Then you have the fake wood trim. I mean, some people like it, some people don't. Kayo, anong opinion niyo sa wood trim? At least I'm happy it's not like gloss black na magiging fingerprint magnet siya. And speaking of gloss black, you just get one trim here na hindi madalas mapupuntahan ng kamay. So madali linisin yan. Dito naman tayo sa center console, and this model comes with wireless charging. Wala siyang wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but you do get wireless charging indeed. You also have a pair of cup holders, and kung kailangan na extra charging options, you have a 1 amp charger here and your 1.5 amp charger here as well. Ito na rin yung pang-connect niya sa Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, Honda is known for their cubby holes, and the CR-V is no exception. So, very modular tong design na to. So, there's a tray inside here. Pwede mo i-slide forward para madali dukutin. Pwede mo i-slide away para mas malalim yung storage box na to. Or, you can remove it all together and make it one big storage area. Well, bahala ka na kung saan mo ilalagay ito, pero this is one big storage area. And also, something most drivers might appreciate, lalo na pag long drive, itong armrest na to, you can extend it para kahit anuman height mo, at least may armrest ka pa rin. Now, punta naman tayo sa infotainment screen, and this has been a point of derision for Honda models of this generation. It's not the fastest system, it's not the most high-resolution system, and in 2022, it feels its age already. There's a lot of menus and sub-menus you have to go through, although you'll eventually get used to it, no? But there are systems that are simpler to use. That said, meron kang vehicle information display, and you can also change yung mga settings ng sasakyan through this screen. Or you can skip all of that, i-plug in mo lang phone mo para may Android Auto ka or Apple CarPlay, and it gets rid of all the fuss in this screen. As for cameras naman, the CR-V comes with a reverse camera, although admittedly it's not the highest resolution camera, but you have a reverse camera nonetheless. You can change the views of the camera, pwedeng straight, pwedeng pa fisheye, or pwedeng top-down view. And then, Honda also has a neat feature called Lane Watch. So, pwede mo siya i-trigger with a button sa left-hand side. So you could press that. And ipapakita sa'yo yung display from the side view mirror. Or, another way to activate that camera is mag-signal ka sa kanan. So automatic yan. Although you can turn that off sa settings, but personally, I would like to keep that on. And exclusive dito sa 1.6 SX all-wheel drive itong panoramic sunroof. Well, you can't see it right now kasi naka-cover pa siya. So all you have to do is press a button and the shades will roll all the way back hanggang sa dulo. And you open the panoramic sunroof. So sa una titigil muna siya dyan, but you can actually push it back a little bit further. And automatic close siya. So all you have to do is tap it and magsasara na siya ng pusa. And other power features, while we're on the subject, you get power adjustable seats. You can adjust yung thigh support nito, pati lumbar support meron siya. So forward, back, up, down, thigh, lumbar. And that gives you more comfort options dito sa kotse. And since telescopic din yung manibela, friendly din siya sa mga taong hindi ganun kahaba yung braso. So all in all dito sa harap, the audio system, the infotainment system just needs a bit of an update. The steering wheel material could use a bit of improvement, but all in all, the space here is good. This just takes a little bit of time to get used to, but all in all, the design, the cabin, the space, and even these seats, you know, they're nice and soft. You know, from the front, the CR-V is a good place to sit in. So bago ako sumakay dito, I want to point something out first. Kung napansin nyo, ang lapad ng pagbukas ng pintuan. And this is one of the reasons why the CR-V makes a good family car. May dala-dala kang child seat, kunwari, kailangan mo ikabit. And this wide opening means, hindi ka mahihirapan, hindi mo kailangan sumingit-singit ng pagilid para malagay mo at maklip mo sa ISOFIX mounts ng CR-V. And don't worry, all CR-V variants come with ISOFIX mounts. So, your babies will be safe while on the road. So sige, sakay na tayo dito sa likod. So typical in all Hondas, room here is very good. Leg room, no doubt, it's great. Nasa position ko to, but even a taller person seated in front, you still have about this much leg room at the back. And speaking of things at the back, meron kang dalawang 2.5 amp USB chargers dito sa likod. And an armrest. So the armrest integrated na dyan yung dalawang cup holders. And as I mentioned, ISOFIX mounts are standard here as well. As for headroom, since may panoramic sunroof siya and yung air conditioning unit niya, medyo compromised yung headroom mo. And these seats, well, they're as low as they can go, as comfortable as they can go. So kung mas gusto mas maraming headroom in your CR-V, you'll have to go for the model without the panoramic sunroof, and that's the 4x2 diesel models. So that's either the 1.6V or the 1.6S. Last but not least, na-slide or na-adjust ba itong upuan na to? Well, yes, it can. So there's a tab here sa baba, and you can slide it forward and back. And to adjust the backrest of the seats, may strap dito to tilt and recline. So the second row covered, punta naman tayo sa third row. So paano naman makapunta sa third row ng CR-V? So step 1 is you pull this tab. So tutumba yung rest. Napansin nyo, nag-slide forward yung upuan din. And then, kailangan mo ng effort para hatakin tong gray strap na to. So pull with everything you got. And that's how you get to the third row of the CR-V. Now, as mentioned, it's pretty easy to stow the third row of the CR-V. So itong tab na to, just pull it up and siya na mismo magsiset niyan. Meron ka pang air conditioning dito para medyo mas malamig dito sa likod. So right now, itong second row seat na to, it's not in the maximum position. And 2 clicks forward, there is a decent amount of room, although it's not the best. Sabihin na natin na the bigger SUVs do it a little bit better. But then again, how often do you see these large SUVs with people here seated at the back? Most of the time, we see them loaded with 4 people, sometimes 5 people. And for the daily drive, we usually see just 1 person driving it. So yung third row dito sa CR-V, again, best reserved for children. And the room here, well, sa height ko at least, it's fair, but anyone taller here will be very, very uncomfortable. At least may space ka para sa paa mo dito sa third row na CRV. So ano pa makikita dito sa third row na CRV? Meron kang dalawang cup holders and that's pretty much it. So dito naman tayo ngayon sa Honda CRV and unahin ko yung rason kung bakit dapat nyo consider muna itong CRV bago kayo bumili nung mas malalaking truck-based na SUVs. And the biggest reason is comfort. Yes, may mga komportable ng pickup-based SUV dyan, pero wala sila sa level ng ride comfort ng crossover and this CRV in general. Even the most comfortable pickup-based SUV will have a bit of firmness in the ride kasi, again, truck-based sila, whereas this one, based siya sa sedan. And at the same time, beefed up yung suspension niya, kaya kayang-kaya niya magdala ng loads din. Minodify yung rear suspension niya to para makakarga din ng 2 extra passengers sa likod. Now, kung i-try mo dumaan sa humps gamit ang mga truck-based na SUVs, mas may mararamdaman kang body motion at sway. And that's something you won't experience dito sa CRV. And again, for most of the time, ikaw lang mag-isa nagda-drive neto or your immediate family members, usually 4 lang at most. So if you need a bigger vehicle, sige, go get that truck-based SUV. But kung okay lang tong space na to sa inyo, you get the benefit of comfort and most especially fuel economy. Dahil mas magaan to sa mga PPV, mas matipid din siya. Na sinaba ko na to sa traffic, stop and go, naka-idle na matagal, and it still returns 12 kilometers per liter in the city. Now on the highway, easy 20 plus kilometers per liter yan. Yung mga truck-based SUVs, they take 50% less. So, kadalasan yung mga yon, they do 8 kilometers per liter, sometimes 7, lalo na pag traffic. And on the highway, usually mga 15, 16 yung mga yan. So, if you choose the CRV, ang laking benefit mo kagad is fuel economy. And at the same time, you know, it's more maneuverable, mas maliit siya. And in the passenger space, nakita nyo naman kanina, okay siya. Well, third row aside. But again, bago kayo bumili ng PPV, tignan nyo muna tong CRV. Now, for performance, it's not fast. It only has 120 horsepower. Pero hindi naman yun yung point kung bakit ka bumili ng CRV. The same way na hindi ka naman bumili ng malaking SUV para magmabilis ka. So for the most part, performance is adequate sa CRV diesel. If you want a little more kick out of it, you might have to consider the gas model. As for handling, it's nice, the electronic power steering, feeling mo naka-hydraulic steering ka and it's very sharp and it's very precise for this type of vehicle. All in all, it's just generally more comfortable talaga and yun yung binabayaran mo pag kukuha ka ng crossover. So dapat nyo bang kunin itong CRV against, say, sa mga Fortuners and stuff like that? Well, depende yan sa needs mo, but here are a few takeaways you have to remember. For the most part, you don't really maximize the use of these large SUVs. If anything, bihira siya na fully loaded and the cargo capacity of this CRV is more than enough for the family. And at the same time, it's comfortable, it's fuel efficient, the performance is okay, but nonetheless, it is a solid family car. And you get to maximize the capabilities of this car more than if you get yung mga diesel na mid-size truck-based SUVs. And if we compare it to other crossovers in its class, again, it's the only one left with a diesel engine and you have Honda's hallmark reliability. So, if you're looking for a crossover that sits somewhere in between yung mga malalaking SUV or kung nalilitan ka masyado sa mga ibang crossover and you need emergency third row seats, then this one is for you. Ngayon, usapang presyo naman tayo. Now, a second-hand CRV usually goes for around 1.1 million for the diesels. The diesel all-wheel drives a little over that and the gas-powered models less than 1 million pesos. Pero kung pupunta kayo sa Automart.ph, siguradong mas makakahanap kayo ng mas affordable pa na CRV. Hindi nga lang tulad nitong brand new na to, most likely you will get the pre-facelift model, but most of the car's capabilities are still in that version. So kung naghahanap kayo ng segunda manong auto, isa lang ang sagot dyan, i-Automart na yan. Ito po si Anton and Jess from Automart.ph. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. Salamat!